When last we left our intrepid adventurers, oh yeah, we'd been messing around with the knowledge implanting thing, and everyone except for Cricket and Process had taken 2 hits on it, and so they were at -5 on everything for 48 hours. And I was really torn. I was like, there's a lot of awesome permanent character boosting things in there for a temporary cost that I could probably take. So I was seriously considering taking another hit on that thing. And so, but I couldn't really decide. And so I asked, of course, Serendipity and Hank, should I? And Hank rolled a wisdom check, and he rolled a 1, so he said, sure, go ahead.
Well, didn't he say, sure, go ahead? And I will, too.
That's right. That's right. He hadn't taken a second hit.
He had no intention of doing it, but he rolled a wisdom check for whether he dealt Cricket to. Critically failed and was like, yes, go ahead, and I will, too.
Yeah. And, of course, Serendipity was like, sure, you should. And so, yeah, Hank took another hit. What was the thing he got? It was...
Hank learned the secret of Tarek.
Oh, right. Yes.
Hank learned Tarek?
He knows the secret of Tarek. We don't know what that secret is yet, because John didn't have time to explain it to Robert, and then, we'll see how that goes. That'll be probably something we'll find out more about next session.
Apparently Tim told him about Tarek after he dropped you off. Of course, Tim invented Tarek.
And the thing that Cricket got was pretty awesome. She learned an ability where, at will, with no restrictions, she can turn unworked natural substance, about this much, into cheese. And
so this is why you ordered the cheeseburger with cheese.
Actually, I hadn't considered that, but yes, that fits in very well with the theme of Cricket now. But yeah, I immediately started thinking of all the munchkin-y things you can do with this kind of thing. It's at will, it's, even though it's a small amount at once,
Does it have to be a separate amount of, like, a thing laying on the ground? Or could you turn...
John was suggesting, you could use this, stone shape to, tunnel or whatever. You just keep making cheese and then carving it away, making cheese.
Eating it.
Yeah, I think you would get pretty sick of cheese. And apparently different kinds of materials will make different cheese. So, oak becomes a particular kind of cheese, and granite becomes a particular kind of cheese. And so we're like, I wonder what diamond cheese tastes like.
It must be exquisite.
Good. Yes.
What about if you make cheese out of a person?
That actually has... I was like, what? Can I grab a guy by the head and turn his brain into cheese? Apparently not.
Oh. Has to be non-living. The restrictions are similar to stone shape.
Yeah.
Though if you turn the person to stone, then you could turn them to cheese.
But it would just be stone cheese. What if I killed them and then turned the body into cheese?
I don't think so.
You said wood would work. I could turn wood into cheese. That's something that was alive and then died.
What about a reanimated skeleton?
How about bone? Yes.
The restrictions are similar to stone shape.
Is it cannibalism? If you first turn... No,
it's definitely not.
Yeah. Anyway, I have no intention of going there. But it is amusing to think about. And John told me afterwards that he'd sort of, when he was making the list of various abilities, he figured by the time we got to the you can make cheese at will thing, would be like, yeah, this is stupid, let's stop. But I'm tickled pink by this. It's totally useful on so many levels. We were undecided whether water would turn into cottage cheese or fondue, perhaps. Cheese whiz, maybe? Or is that what mud would turn into?
Yeah, well, I wasn't imagining using it on a liquid.
Well, I'm going to. This is better than the hook shot.
Behold my devastating cheese moat!
That's horrifying. Just use it for revenge.
And of course, I mentioned, I wonder, what about waystone cheese? That, of course, will require Process to no longer be in the party before we try that. But anyway, so that was a sort of a little tail end of the last session that we hadn't. I mean, technically we'd left the room, but we had not done anything since then, so
Well, I think
John
we-
allowed us to take another hit on it.
We had left it as people were like, "Oh, should we leave?" And they're like, "Well, I don't think anyone's going to take anything, but I guess we can decide next time." And then,
Yeah.
and this time, Croesus was like, "No, no." Well, Tim was also,
Yeah.
for once, Tim agreed with Croesus that I shouldn't screw around with this stuff because he didn't want the whole party to be at -5 except for him.
Well,
Yeah.
that's what happened.
And that's what happened. Everyone
We're all
else has a
left, we're all like,
splitting
"Oh,
headache,
man."
-5 on everything, and Croesus is just like shaking his head.
We all walked into the room that contains the thing that crams knowledge into your head, and we all come out going like, "Oh, can't believe we ate the whole thing."
Yeah.
But I can turn things to cheese.
Yes. And I know every Imperial
Yeah.
noble
Yes.
ever.
And you can know how to butcher a...
No, that was Serendipity Van Goldstone.
Oh, right,
Lord, Top
yeah.
Bar Tower, Shepherd Soul, Stratus Tribe, Doom Delayer. Unfortunately, Aram Ben Jarad realized that he had remove affliction ritual, which is like remove curse, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And John agreed that you could use that to remove the -5 at the expense of one of the knowledges that you gained. So it's like part and parcel.
Oh, right, yeah.
So Serendipity, Van Gold, Strata Malor, Top Bar Tower, Shepherd Soul, Stratus Tribe, Doom Delayer.
Give up.
She ditched the pig butchering knowledge. I was like, but you could have
Campaign
a name.
over.
You could get a name from that. Ah. She apparently didn't want that name. This may be the first time a gnome has ever...
Said no to a
Yeah.
name.
Yeah, that could be her name. Too good for pig butchering.
Serendipity, Van Gold, Strider Malor, Top of the Tower, Shepherd of Souls, Stars of Time, Doom Delayer, Eschewer of Fancy Names. And who else? Someone else ditched something. Oh yeah, Aram Ben Jarad ditched the knowledge of how to make pain slaves. Which I kind of agree with.
Did he actually tell anyone what knowledge he was
I don't
ditching?
know if he's ever actually
I think
mentioned
he
it.
did say that he mentioned it.
Okay, well,
And then got rid of it.
and then that's I'll be okay with that. I guess. Hank kept his because he
He didn't know. Well, part of it he didn't know.
right,
He didn't know if he wanted to give up Tarek.
Yes,
He
that's
didn't
right.
know what Tarek
I was
was.
blanking again on
Oh my god.
pretty horrifying. Anyway, what was the next room then? Let me see. After that,
Next room. One thing that happened in that room, I just, from looking at my notes,
Oh,
reminded
right,
me,
right.
was Croesus noticed Cricket
right.
flicker.
yes,
But everything else was weird, and everyone was holding their heads in pain. And he was like, I just assume it's
just part
part of
yeah.
their stupidity. And he just didn't
Yeah,
say,
he
didn't say it to
didn't
anyone.
mention it to anyone.
And no one else
He
noticed
was
because they were all going.
Yeah, we're all at -5 on everything.
The next room was it was a large style room, and it had a whole bunch of horrible monstrosities,
This
like
one.
beasts and monsters, all running into the room and locked in place, frozen in place. And on the far end, there was this on the catwalk. There's there's the rooms with the catwalks. There's a
big
kind of like a
funnel
focusing funnel thing, and in it was a bone of the earth. And behind it at the controls was this guard who, as soon as they entered the room, was freaked out. Was like, okay, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to freeze you? What's going on? Who are you? What are you guys doing? And they were like, well, I don't know.
We do our calming like this. Okay, calm down.
Look,
Explain.
they said I only have a few
Yeah.
seconds to decide. I think I better just freeze you. I think I better just freeze you. But
And we're like, no, you really don't need to just freeze us. And so he was willing to.
I think their
listen to
argument
us.
was that you've already been talking to us for like 20 seconds.
Yeah.
So if we were gonna kill you, it'd already be dead.
Yeah. So that relaxed him. No, it didn't relax him. But anyway.
Yeah, he was pretty freaked out for a while. Although the realization that the door was now time locked for an hour, he was just like, oh, finally I can relax.
Yeah.
They put me in here 8 hours ago and said, if any horrible beasts come through the room, freeze them, and you only got 3 seconds or you're gonna die. So just do it. He's just been on edge the whole time. No relief has come, and he was saying this is not worth a year off my sentence
Yeah.
to do this job. But
So we gave him an hour respite. And then, of course, Serendipity runs up there and starts poking and prodding and examining the bone of the earth.
And freezes half the
Even
party.
though it's clearly not Panadar.
Yeah.
Because, the one rule that we set for ourselves when we came in here is we're not going to mess with anything other than Panadar, because that's what we're here for.
Right,
We're not
yep.
going to mess with
Because
anything.
you've already pulled like
We're not
6 to 8 blocks.
Yeah, we're at 9.
9 Jenga blocks.
9 blocks.
We're not going to steal anything other than Panadar.
Right, yep.
Certainly not 6 bones of the earth. Definitely not going to steal 6 bones of the earth. We're just here for Panadar. But anyway,
They were particularly interesting because it seemed to be somewhat of a time effect.
Yeah.
Especially because when they examined the monsters, they were like completely as hard as a rock. Like even, their fur was flowing behind them and you could like hit it with a hammer and it's totally
But it's not
frozen.
turned to stone.
no, they're just frozen in time.
Yeah.
And so Serendipity realizes, using her freaky knowledge of all things time travel, that she could combine this bone of the earth with Panadar, like click them together somehow, and make a device that was able to lock a moment in time so it couldn't be changed. It's basically a defense against, Panadar.
Yeah.
Presumably there's like some combination of 8 bones of the earth that you can use to unlock time or whatever, but we'll get to that someday. But anyway, and so she's like, oh, how many Jenga blocks to steal this? And it was, John said it was either 1 or 2, and so she stole it, and so...
I had Tim roll a die, and I said on even is 2 and odd it's 1, and he rolled a 20, so I felt like that should be like some kind of bonus or benefit.
Yeah.
So that was their first Jenga blocks pulled of the session, so I told them they just had to they didn't have to pull any extra, but they just had to pull the 9 from last time to get up to this, because I said by fluke it worked out that in a few months a beast that would have been frozen by this thing got loose and killed 3 of the guys who they had brought back to life, so it canceled out. So it was free.
We're still way in the positives on the kill count on this one.
Right, yeah.
Or negative kill count. Anyway.
You've got an unkill count.
Yeah.
They also discovered that the bone of the earth, that when it powers the thing to freeze whatever, all of time or some such thing gets drawn through the mind of the activator and renders them brain dead.
So it would have killed the guy if he fired
the guard who uses freeze, it'll kill him. But when you combine it with Panadar, it supplies the energy for that, so it'll work fine.
Oh, so he hadn't actually frozen anyone.
No,
yet.
he hadn't frozen anyone.
He was
die.
brought in this to that. Yeah.
They were basically tricking him into committing suicide for their benefit.
I mean, there's maybe like a dozen monsters in this room, and this
Probably
has
not
been around
likely.
for hundreds of years, so they don't use it daily.
Yeah.
They did find the guy that they put that EF warrior through on very fine, and they found the guy who was like a 6-armed, wielding weapons, covered in like a ripped open military uniform, and
that guy was in the room.
Frozen.
He was frozen.
Oh, what happened with the rest of the weapon upgrades or the item upgrades?
Oh, we haven't got news yet back on what those.
Yeah, not everyone got them to me, and I dealt with them.
So anyway, so now we've got a stolen bone of the earth. That makes 5 in total because Croesus has those 4 that he took.
Oh, right. Yep.
Yeah. Croesus started it.
They didn't tell the guard. He just went back to his duty.
Yep.
Although really, he's not really any better or worse off.
Yeah, he was going to die either way if a monster came in.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
In some ways, maybe he's better off, because if a random person comes in and he accidentally activates it, he's actually better off.
Yeah. And the party didn't unleash any horrible monsters that they might want to lure into that room, did they?
Well, not that weren't already unleashed. And in fact, we wouldn't want to do that because they're unleashed already. It's going on at alter time. After we drew those 9 Jenga blocks, even though that was a number we'd drawn before, I felt like the tower was a lot more unstable this time around than it was last time around. It was a bad tower. It was a bad tower this time around. So I'm very glad that we didn't have to pull any extras, because I don't know if we could have, literally. I was one of the last ones to pull, and I couldn't find any good ones at all. Very, very. So after that room, pockets now bulging with bones in the earth.
And you still have yet to retrieve the bouncy one.
Yeah. We're leaving that one. No. we headed back into the stairwell. And this one, I think, was the thing that's always growing plants and vines and stuff. Was that one next, or
No, that one was actually like almost quite a bit later. But
Oh, okay.
I mean, it doesn't really matter.
yeah, that one was a very brief room. That one.
you can describe it.
Let's do them in order. We'll do
Okay.
them in actual order.
The next one was there was a I think it was a large cell room. I've switched documents, I can't tell. But all that was in it was a desk with a logbook and a pedestal with nothing on it.
Oh, right. This
And the logbook was labeled Pan, which means 3.
one. Number 3 was in this room. It apparently wasn't anymore.
And there's a logbook. I guess I'll just read it to you. May 14th. Excited to be working on such a lowered number codex entry. If I can destroy this one, I may make honorable. The rumor has it that this bone contains the secrets of all magic, though no one has been able to unlock it. I don't really care about that, except that it might provide a clue on how to destroy it. May 21st. Ran through a standard battery of tests. No leads on destroying it. This is not a surprise. It's been worked through them before, but it was worth checking. July, and then there's a bunch, skip a bunch. July 8th. No success with destruction, but I think I have an inkling of how this thing works. We'll check tomorrow. More skipped entries. July 24th. I figured it out, I think. I've started to tap its power. I figured it out. I've started to tap its power. It's amazing, I think. July 25th. This thing inside it has so much power. So much. September 1st. Sorry for no entries lately. I've been busy. I know the power. I understand that destroying it would be the greatest crime against humanity possible. With this, I will have the power. I will destroy them all. September 7th. I've had my memory wiped. Apparently something went wrong with the artifact and I turned evil. I don't have any idea what I was talking about in the previous entries, but I'm still committed to destroying this thing. A bunch of skipped. October 20th. No success again this week. October 21st. I think I understand my old log entries. Tomorrow I'll test something. November 7th. I figured it out. Again. This time they won't be able to stop me. November 12th. I've had my memory wiped again. Sigh. This time I won't fail.
Here, I'll be right back. Like, just because I have to know.
Skipped entries. January 12th. I found it. They will all pay for wiping my memory. January 13th. Memory wiped again. The problem always seems to start when I start to figure out what this item does. Maybe I can avoid that somehow. January 22nd. The fools! They will rue this day! January 24th. Sigh, starting over again. February 10th. This time I figured out the power and how to keep my memory. The fools! February 20th. All research terminated. V4.
So we couldn't find it. It didn't seem to be in the room.
Everyone searched for it too.
I didn't really search all that hard. I don't know if it would have been a good idea to find it. Apparently it causes your memory to get wiped over and over again. So yeah, that was basically an empty room. I really question the logic of the Spellblades giving this guy back his logbook.
He's really good. I mean, I skipped a lot of entries. There's probably lots of entries about tests he did to try to destroy it.
He should have at least torn out the pages where he turned into a maniacal...
Well, it's a good warning.
He's like their best. It's like if you had this programming thing, you really need it solved. So you put Tim Smith on it, and every few months you have to wipe his memory because he turns evil. You might still keep putting him on it.
It's what we do already. We just don't have the technology to wipe his mind. Yeah. Anyway, so room after that one.
Yeah, let's go back to it.
I think that was the last big prepared speech thing.
I think actually around this time is when more people started to notice that cricket was flickering.
Yeah. Every once in a while I flicker.
Right.
And someone else noticed it who wasn't Croesus, and so pointed it out to Serendipity. And then examinations were done.
Your property's flickering.
Yeah. And so an examination was done, and they figured out what happened. I'd been killed.
You've been killed?
I've been killed at some point in my timeline.
Oh.
My personal timeline, previous to this point in time. So yeah, Cricket got killed at some point before now.
Somewhere in the timeline.
Yeah,
Okay.
and in fact, Serendipity rolls really well and narrows down exactly when.
Oh.
Basically over the session we checked multiple times as they were waiting.
Oh right,
But
yeah.
whatever, we'll just condense it to one for the
That's
story.
right. Yeah, the
Right.
first couple times it was vague.
Eventually, she figured out exactly the moment.
I think she rolled a 20 on that, didn't she? Yes. And it turns out that something interfered with the moment of Cricket's creation. So all the way at the beginning.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So probably the Void Monster or something, huh?
I don't know. I mean, I assume it's the time mages that are doing this.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to stop us from stopping them by stopping us from being. Fortunately, due to all the Panadar interactions I've had and Serendipity's good roll, she rolled another 20 at stabilizing me. Cricket's got 60 days of meta time, so we can finish the, give ourselves the quest stuff, and then we can decide on which of these other pressing issues we have to work on.
It does seem like the Time Mages are ultimate scry and trying you.
Yeah. They screw and through. Yeah, they screw and through right at the beginning. That's not the proper past tense, but whatever, I like it. So, alright, so yeah, at some point we're going to have to go to Cricket's birthday.
Right.
It's going to be awesome. I've been trying to get the party to visit the Empire of Endless Flowers at some point. Now we're going to get the chance. Great. It'll be like a nice super nostalgic trip down memory lane. Go and visit where I grew up and was indoctrinated. See all my trainers. But that's not what's going on right now. This is our queue is filling back up again. So,
Next room was a multi-room. Oh yeah, and they went in. There was a guard in the inner room, and he was like, "What are you guys doing here right now? You're off schedule. I'll go get Sir Power Run." So they went and got Sir Power Run, and he asked them why they were there right now, because they weren't expecting any prisoners. But they got into a discussion about the item that was in this room, and it got a little bit sharp.
The whole party has massive headaches.
That's true. They had massive headaches, and there was some disagreement, and he started shouting.
Don't shout at high-level characters with massive headaches. So, apparently, they've got this bone in here, this bone of the earth. And I don't know if they know what it does, but they do know that it's able to absorb life force. It basically takes years off your life.
Oh.
And if they feed it 2,000 years, it will just be destroyed.
Oh.
And so they've been having prisoners come in here, and for a year off their sentence, they feed a year of their life into it.
Right.
So it's basically free for them. It's like,
You die a year sooner, but you get out a year sooner.
And so this guy figured it was a great deal for the prisoners. A lot of us, the players and characters, I guess, thought this was horrifying.
which just set him right off, because he was just obviously sick and tired of people coming in with their moral judgments. And he went off on a tirade about how, this bone of the earth. Do you know anything about the zombie apocalypse in Corblin? Maybe, I think it was, maybe when your great grandmother was still sucking on a tit, the Spellblades were saving the world, and this is part of it. And this, if we want to make sure Corblin never comes back, this is how we do it. And we're doing it in a harmless way. It's not hurting anyone. They're voluntarily accepting it, so you can take your sanctimonious, ignorant faces and shut them. At which point Hank punched him.
So he had all kinds of moral justifications for his inexcusable actions. We weren't buying any of them, except Croesus, who volunteered to spend to pull 2,000 years, of his own, because Oblin don't die of old age.
Right.
But it turns out it doesn't work.
It doesn't work on immortal creatures, which also lets the Spellblades off, because they're also immortal. Someone asked him why doesn't he do it, but it doesn't work on him.
Well, I think I asked why don't they just use cows or something, but
It's an evil artifact.
at that point there was a lot of shouting going on, and so I don't think that really got taken up.
Luckily, Hank just rolled poorly, partly because he had -5, and just punched the guy's armor and hurt his hand, and the guy just stormed off. Things kind of diffused.
So this wasn't Panadar either, and for some reason we didn't want to steal it.
Serendipity checked it out and determined that what he was saying was legit. She wouldn't have thought of it herself, but now that you mention it, yeah, for sure. They fed it like 500 years, and they feed it another 1,500, and it's going to be destroyed. It'll break apart.
What does it do? Just it's necromantic?
Yeah, it had a very strong necromantic effect. She doesn't know otherwise.
So maybe it did have something to do with Corblins. I don't know. Not our problem. We moved on. The next room was the plant room, right? We must be getting close to it.
Yes.
Yay.
Plant room.
Yes, we opened the door to the room, and it was completely 100% packed full of vegetation. Vines and trees and bushes and leaves and stuff like that. And as soon as we opened the door, it started like growing in or out to try and fill the airlock as well. So we managed to beat the vegetation back and get the door shut just in time for a fireball to go up inside. It's got one of those auto purge things that the Spellblades have set up.
Right.
Every 10 minutes, a fireball destroys everything in the room.
Good safety mechanism.
Yeah.
So when they open it back up, it's just ash on the floor. There's a bone of the earth in the middle, but immediately grass starts spreading out from it, and then trees start growing, and it starts filling the room. And 10 minutes later, it's completely choked with vegetation again, and then fireball.
Yeah. So
Excellent cut.
Aram Benjarad, being a druid, tries talking with the vegetation. Probably a bad idea. Because it is pitiable. It is screaming in agony and pleading for escape from this hell that it is trapped in, eternally growing and burning and growing and burning, begging for release. So we don't.
You don't release it.
No. No, we'd slam the door on it. There really was no benefit except to ruin our already fragile and bruised ethical sense.
I mean, I guess they could have let it loose in the hallway, but
It wouldn't be satisfied with that. It was rambling on about how it wanted to spread over the whole world and turn it all into a garden of awesome.
You could have thrown it down the stairs.
We need to go down there ourselves.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was a bit of a bypassed room. Just don't let it out. It wasn't particularly harmful, except that it was just growing like crazy. So,
next one.
the next one?
Oh, yes.
Yes, the most terrifying room of all.
Yes, it was a multi-room. All that was in the little middle room was a desk with a small chest, and above the chest was a poster. Find it. There's a poster above it that said, "These are not a toy. These are esoteric artifacts beyond the ken of most mortals. Rolling them is not fun. Tricking your friend into rolling them is not funny. Playing with eldritch abominations for kicks is not cool. It's stupid. We are here to destroy the codex, not play with it."
There was a mad scramble to get to the box. Because clearly there's something very fun inside indeed. Inside were actually two carved waystones. It was one of those multi-bones that comes in two parts. There was a tetrahedron and an icosahedron. A D4 and a D20. And so it was all like, okay, who's going to roll them first? Serendipity, of course, gets dibs because she's the arcane investigator.
Right.
So she rolls a sucker, both of them.
Right.
And then before we find out what the results were, Aram Benjarad was like, "Okay, now me," and he rolls them too. and John's like, "Okay, anyone else?" And we're like, "No."
Once it was all settled, who would roll and who didn't, I told them what it did, and that was whatever you rolled on the D20, every single D20 roll for the next D4 days will be that number. So whatever you're on the D20 for the next, so if you rolled 2 days and Gerard rolled 4 days, it's going to be what they rolled on that D20 every single time.
Every single D20 from here on to the end of that. Guess what they rolled?
4 and 6?
No, you couldn't be more wrong.
Oh no.
Serendipity rolled a 20. Aram Benjarad only rolled a 19.
Oh my god.
Which is within the crit range with our expanded room thing. So, yeah. For the next 2 days, both Aram Benjarad and Serendipity are going to critically succeed on every D20 roll that they make. And then for the next 2 days after that, only Aram Benjarad will critically succeed on every D20 roll they make. We use a crit table that has like extra things that you can do, and Serendipity and I think Aram Benjarad, they have both have +5 weapons.
Yeah.
Yeah. So turns out, if on a crit, well, first of all, you roll another d20 to see how bad the crit is, whether it's, what area of the body it hits. And of course, a 19 or 20 is going to get you the extreme crit, which is like super awesome. If you're using a weapon, a physical weapon, that's a mech blow. That's where you get your Vorpal effects from. But when you're using magic, if you sacrifice 5 dice, the enemy that you hit with that effect, you are immune to all damage that they can deal for the remainder of the encounter.
Holy nuts.
So yeah.
So Serendipity is now the tank.
She'll lay down an area effect on the enemies, and then she's immune to their attacks. Assuming they're still alive after having been critically hit.
Right.
And I figure, I set this up and I was ready to run with whatever happened.
Yeah.
And, if they had rolled 1s, that would be sucking for them, so I'll deal with them rolling nothing but 20s for 2 days. This is what happens when you play with esoteric artifacts.
I sort of test rolled to see what I would have gotten. Would have been a 3. So, yeah.
Someone commented that the party learned all the wrong lessons from this vault.
Yes, and John remembered once again that game we played, simulating game development. Remember, where we found an exploit in the rules where basically don't try and manage your risk. In fact, try and crank your risk up as high as it possibly can go. That was the best way. So yeah, we learned that as well. Here.
Everyone get a headache.
Yep.
Everyone roll the dice.
Yeah. Esoteric artifact, dive right in. It's the Anthedon lesson all over again. Yeah, this is going to throw an interesting twist on things.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, with the way Panadar works, we're going to jump to a random time and place, and it's probably going to be more than a couple of days before we can find another rift that'll get us somewhere else. But until then, 2 of our party members are complete juggernauts of destruction.
Right.
Oh, and we looked up the things that Tim's or Crossus's wind form, wind shape.
Yeah, I think wind shape.
Yeah, basically for 2 rounds he's insubstantial, which means half damage on attacks. He already gets half damage on half the attacks that hit him, and then the other half he takes no damage. So half the time he'll take quarter damage, and the other half the time he'll take no damage. That's on top of his damage reduction resistance.
Yeah,
which he's
if
got.
any gets through, it takes 10 off.
Yeah. And he's got a pretty high armor class and such. So yeah.
Yeah, it's just like that horrible beast. Once Croesus marked it, it was just basically it flailing against him pointlessly.
So 3 of the party members are juggernauts right now. And Cricket can make cheese. So beware, evildoers. So anyway, that was a very productive room.
Wow.
Yeah, we didn't.
Yeah, all crits.
Oddly enough, we didn't steal these bones of the earth.
Although they didn't know what they did till they left the room, so
We could have gone back, and this is worth it.
Everybody roll the dice. Everybody roll the dice.
I speculated in the car afterwards. Cricket's got that predict the future ability that lets you roll the d20 3 times and then give the d20 to someone else. Does that affect that thing?
Those are an interesting artifact that work well as long as the party doesn't take them into their own possession.
Yeah, he didn't say no. We're totally going.
It turns out those things were used a lot in the future. It'll be a lot of Jenga blocks.
I guess we'll just have to seal them in the future then. We're coming back here. See, that's the thing. Panadar lets us get out of here regardless of what time period we're in. So we could totally go back to... The trick would be
That's
smuggling...
what I was saying. You need to steal the bounty then.
Yeah, the trick would be smuggling Panadar in the first place, because they do check you for bones of the earth when you're going in as well. That would be tricky. But anyway, not really relevant to what we're doing. And I think we can get by without completely breaking the rules, so we'll be fine. So we have Panadar.
Right.
We don't need anything else anymore.
Wait, what?
We take it.
We forgot to tell them about how the next room had Panadar. It was so anticlimactic.
Spoilers. Yes, the next room had Panadar. It was just sitting there. The room was dusty. There was no guard.
Oh.
There was just a notebook saying, we don't know what this does. We don't know how to destroy it.
So I guess I adequately conveyed the anticlimax.
Like, you just rolled some dice. Is that no Panadar? What?
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, they just walked in the room. It was as expected, right? Like they thought it was a harmless, useless artifact, but they couldn't destroy it for some reason.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah.
If they had better guards on it, it would have been easier to find. Because it would have been on one of the stable levels.
Yeah. So we pick it up and we leave the room.
Now what?
Now, Serendipity goes on our top of her tower ship, Soul Strides time. Doomdelayer uses her time knowledge
And rolls in that 20.
and rolls a nat 20. Remember when I was saying earlier how she miraculously rolled a couple nat 20s while trying to figure out cricket's flickering? This is where she did it. Yeah, when she gets help from party members, she gets like a guaranteed 50 plus on her Arcana checks now. Every Arcana check is 50 plus. I was like, man, let's take a break for a couple days and you just invent some spells or something. Anything where the Arcana check is going to give you long-term benefit. Let's do that.
Some rituals,
Yeah. Craft some magic items or something. I don't know. But anyway.
I was slightly worried that if there was any inter-party conflict.
Maybe just brew for a couple of days
I used my diplomacy. Well, looks like you believe me.
Yeah, it's interesting. Even the things they're not great at, they're probably still the best bet. Right? Like they're on average they'll roll the highest on everything.
Yeah. I don't know. There's still some things that other party members are specialized in.
Yeah.
Well, even in diplomacy, say, they're going to serendipity roll a 20. You will on average roll a 10 or 10.5.
Yeah.
So unless yours is 10 higher,
Which it might
she's a better bet. But if it is more than 10 higher,
And
then
in a Frank game, that would be ridiculous.
So, okay, now we have Panadar.
Right.
Apologies for
into the
skipping
boring
ahead.
room.
We walked in the most boring room. Well, I don't know. Pell was even more boring because there wasn't even a bone of the earth in there. I guess it was an interesting read. So yeah, she does the ping to find out where the nearest rift is. We figured we were almost guaranteed that there would be one in the stairwell because the stairwell is of infinite size. It's just a matter of how far down we have to go. And sure enough, there's one, or there's at least one. The nearest one is on floor 425.
Aha! Excitement.
If you recall from a couple sessions ago, nobody has ever come back from below 417. So, we start walking down the stairs. What did you calculate it out to? 6,000 feet?
something like that.
Yeah, it's nearly Mount Everest's height. Now, it's all walking downhill, but still, we were contemplating, okay, can we, shield sled down?
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Make a spell to get to the bottom of the stairs.
Can I ride on the bronze griffin so that it does the walking for me? That sort of thing. It was a tedious trek, but we got down to floor 417.
Right.
And we're like, okay, no one's ever come back from beyond this point. We won't either because we're going to exit via time travel.
Right.
So it's probably fine. What could go wrong? So we take a step off the landing, and all the candles go dark.
On the floor 417?
Everything is darkness.
Nice.
Some of us have dark vision. Some of us have magical light sources. None of it gets more than a meter around us illuminated. It's magical darkness. So we continue deeper, and as
Did things progressively get weirder?
we hadn't actually been peeking in the doors.
Well, because there was that theory that it was multiplication of
Yeah, it
error.
was like copies of copies.
Yeah.
The door stopped being guarded around room level 150,
Yeah.
but it didn't. It just looked like the same stairwell as far as they could tell.
And we didn't peek inside the rooms because we're a very goal-oriented party. We don't get distracted easily
Right.
by random side things.
Yeah.
So yeah, we start continuing further down in the darkness. We just need to go down. What is it? Another eight,
Seven,
something like that, whatever. And then we'll be in range of the rift that we can get out of here. And as we're going, it's all like spooky haunted house type ambiance.
Feel a hand on your back, something skitters over.
John actually went behind Shannon at one point and said, "Do you feel a hand on your shoulder?" And put his hand, and she was just like, "Don't do that," because she had not really been aware that John was back there.
Well played.
May I have a clock, please?
However, Serendipity Bengal Sarvar, top of our ship, Soul Strider, time Doomdelayer, crit machine decided to roll an Arcana check to figure out what all this spookiness was all about.
Right.
And now
When you're a creepy thing, don't go up against a high-level mage with all 20s.
With
Yeah.
auto crit.
yeah. So she basically just, the spooky monster. She just analyzed. I know how all this works. There's, there's necromantic emanations, and there's like these tendrils. You can see them going up through the floor like that.
She's basically Doctor Who.
Yeah, there's nothing to it. They were just sort of doing this telekinetic touch in the back because that's all they can do right now. See, there's one right there. It's like, just about to touch someone's neck.
Right.
So we resumed going down, and it started to talk at this point, I think, because it sort of lost its coolness. Now it was...
Once you got to floor 425 and started the ritual, or once you got to floor 425 and stopped, then you started hearing someone crying down below and calling, "Please help me! I'm just a little further on. Please come! Please! I've been trapped here for so long."
And we all just sort of glanced at each other and like, yeah, we've seen this movie before. No. We're continuing our ritual. It was trying all these like
Dirty tricks,
tugging at the heartstrings, please rescue me kind of things.
Once they were almost done the ritual, it started getting angry and saying they were cowards and or they just didn't care.
Well, that part was true. So we basically ignored the crying ghost.
Paste this crying tirade into your Facebook, or otherwise it means you don't care.
Did you try going back up? Just out of
No,
curiosity?
we have no need to do that, and it could end badly. So, yeah, we were exiting via time rift, and it was right here. And we already had a lot of bones of the earth, so we don't need to go back for any more. So this time rift, it leads about 100 years into the past, and into, what was the name of the mountains? Voihawk Mountains, which is the worst mountain range in the world. It's the one the dwarves live in.
Oh, okay.
And also has Corblin's Tower in it. Though John had actually forgotten that Corblin's Tower was there, so I'm not as super concerned about that, unless he revises next time. He's like, oh yeah,
That's too bad.
In amongst all the dwarves, there's a bunch of liches, it turns out.
Because they were like, oh man, that's where Corbin's Tower is. No, it isn't. It's in the south. Looked up on the map. It's right there. Oh, I mean, yeah, you guys are better watch out.
You'll hear Corbin's voice in your head.
Well, I anticipate that next session he'll have rebalanced the encounters to take into account that 2 of our party members are critically succeeding at every attack, so... Demi-liches.
I don't know, there's not a whole lot you can do about that, because they become immune.
So we arrive in a cave, and immediately, poke, we're there.
Is, what's his name there too?
Kalinar? No, Kalinar is left behind.
They didn't want him. He didn't come in the vault at all.
Yeah.
Because if he did anything, it could be undone. So they just left him guarding Panadar outside the SBC complex.
Within a Southgate range of the place. And presumably now, what he will do is take Panadar and put it in a safe place, and then spend the next 20 days drinking and being merry, or weeping.
Until he disappears.
And then, all of his existence will be undone. And then we will eventually show up and retrieve that Panadar, because we need that for our plan.
These guys are monsters.
If we get there before 20 days of meta time have passed, we'll take some notes for his last whatever's.
Then they are also planning to try to undo his death 15 years ago.
Yes.
It's just that's like a much more. That's basically directly assaulting the time mages, whereas this is more guaranteed to work.
That sounds super inconvenient.
I think he will appreciate his new timeline more than his old timeline, because he won't have spent the last 15 years moping about Aurora's death and burning all his bridges with the spellblades, etc. He will have to let the world think he's dead for 15 years, but...
I think the plan was save him, warp him 15 years ahead, and then he just now he lives out the rest of his life. There was a 15 year skip in the middle. Yeah,
where everyone thought he was dead. So there will probably still be some things he'll have to sort out, but I think he'll appreciate it more. Anyway, so we arrive in this cave. and there's a bunch of dwarves, of course. And they see us arrive, and they all sort of turn towards us, and they start shuffling towards us, sort of like that. And what were they saying? Intruders. Like that. So there's something wrong with them. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure this isn't normal dwarf behavior.
Yeah.
We encountered some of them back in the Ood times.
Mm-hmm. And they generally were a little more communicative.
A little more lively, yeah.
Yeah.
More terrorist bomby. But that's where the session ended. Serendipity didn't even get a chance to nuke them. Presumably that will be her first action. Of course, since we're still in the past, we have to try and avoid killing things.
They did not corruptly zombie dwarves.
They didn't appear to be zombies. They just sort of were all something or other, yeah. There was some speculation in the car as to what was up, but I won't go into it here because...
You don't want to give me ideas?
Yes, that too.
I always worry when Tim drives home afterwards. It's like, you guys always come up with, like, evil plans against me during those times.
Yeah. Well, this wasn't so much evil plans, it was more just, trying to figure out what your evil plan was. And yeah, we don't want to give you ideas. And also it's more fun, being surprised by these things. So I don't want confirmation. Also, I think that we were using some out-of-character knowledge to try and figure stuff out, which is also something to be avoided. But anyway, that's where things stand. We got out of there with 6 bones of the earth, including
the tower didn't fall.
The tower didn't fall, barely. We really came out of this pretty awesome, aside from Cricket dying, which I don't think had anything to do with what we were doing in there.
Yeah, it was just him. Yeah. Just the enemy's plans against him.
Yeah, there's strategic moves going on. And yeah, I'm actually, aside from having never existed, I think this is probably pretty cool, because finally the party's going to have to go to the Empire of those Flowers. I can show them once and for all that it's a nice place and everything's fine. So that's going to work out well for me there too. I did suggest, since they were all like, oh, we don't want to go to the Empire of those Flowers, I did suggest that I could just use my hotline to the High Priestess to have her ensure that I exist. Mm-hmm. And they were all like, no! We'll do it!
Who's the Empress in the past?
You don't know that. There's no evidence to indicate.
She's the Empress. She's probably not.
She's the High Priestess of the Temple of Freedom. She's not the Empress.
You can't be evil.
No.
You can't be an evil High Priestess.
The Serpent Queen has nothing to do with the High Priestess of the Serpent cult that runs the Temple of Freedom.
Definitely not.
That appeared right after.
Fundamentally.
Yeah. Just you watch. It'll turn out they actually are 2 different people, and everyone will be like,
Yeah, it'll turn out she's actually a good person. She's honestly been trying to help the whole time.
I've been telling them all that. It'll be the giantest twist of all.
It's not just his indoctrination.
No player ever believes that someone's on their side. Ever.
And that was the session. Oh, this is fantastic. Aside from the headache, it's a small price to pay, though. Oh, I know every imperial noble. I can make cheese at will. And we're going to visit my birthday. I'm dead. That's a downside, but we can fix that. This is confusing, isn't it? This is a complicated series of that's good and that's bad that really wouldn't make a lot of sense to most people. When did things become weird? At some point, everything got very strange. Whatever. I'm having, I think, a positive day overall. Aside from being dead and having a horrible headache. Yes.
I think the point where things got weird is where we all were dumped in the chasm by the
Yes, when we were thrown in the chasm by Warforged. That's when things went a little bit odd. But I'm feeling positive right now. If only my head would stop splitting in half.
Oh, I feel great. I feel like I'm about to get lucky.
I'm going to have some choice words, anonymously, of course. With the heads of the Spellblades, I'm going to have to write them a letter when we get back, an anonymous letter, reporting to them the corruption running this vault, the Spellblades are supposed to be a force designated. Well, one of their main goals is to destroy the bones of the earth, because we know that they are abominable objects that have no place in this world and can only be, generally speaking, used for bad, although some good can come of them, like with Panadar, but I digress. And here they are playing with them in these rooms and sending random prisoners to poke them and prod them and see what happens and drain their life on something that could just be contained, or kill themselves so that they can press a button to freeze a monster. And just, these things need to be contained and destroyed, not played with. And admittedly, we played with them too. Those Rods of Wonder were fun, and I obtained some interesting knowledge, even though it hurts a lot. But the point here is, they're going about this all wrong, and something needs to be done. The Spellblades should be better than this.
I kind of think that in our little visit to the Spellblade Vault, we learned all the wrong lessons and are worse people than we were before we went in. And I'm kind of wondering whether giving these waste stones to the elders is a great idea, but I don't really know what else to do with them. The elders are pretty good about holding the course. They'll probably be okay. Probably.
Oh, I feel so much better now that I don't have a splitting headache. That really hurt. In fact, I feel good. I feel like I could accomplish anything right now.
Wow, it's really dark down here. It's really dark. It's kind of spooky. Where's Aurora when we need her? I miss Aurora. What was that? Whoa, guys! Touch my leg! Guys!